Another big story, a 9/11 widow's mission nearly a dozen years after the attacks. The pain endures for Lorie Van Auken. Her husband, Kenneth Van Auken, died on 9/11. His remains, along with many others who perished that day, may be in a landfill untouched for years. The waiting only adds to the suffering. And Lorie Van Auken joins me now. Lorie, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
I was very struck by a letter that you wrote to the New York Times, and that's why I wanted to get you on my show, because it was a very powerful, emotional letter that you wrote late at night. I want to read a section of it so that viewers can understand why I was so keen to talk to you. You wrote this. You said, "The possibility of receiving my husband's remains after almost 12 years is unsettling. But I still don't know if this latest find will yield any or not. I'm writing this at 2 a.m., no longer able to sleep, as the thought of finally making a funeral for Ken after all these years is opening up old wounds once again. Worse yet, the thought that any part of him has been lying for years at a garbage dump is utterly ghoulish. This is not the first time a cache of 9/11 remains has been found by the city. I fear it will not be the last." No rush, New York City, you wrote. Perhaps you will get to it within the next decade or two. And I can totally understand the angst that you were feeling. Tell me about this discovery. Apparently the first week in April, New York City announced a new effort to find remains. It was revealed then that 60 dump trucks worth of soil had been kept in Staten Island for possibly 2.5 years. As a widow, what did that make you feel?
We feel despair because these things were mishandled from the beginning. It seems that the city was in a hurry to rebuild, and they neglected to handle the remains of the people that were killed that day in a proper fashion. And now we're, 12 years on, still waiting to get news of identifications and, possibly have a funeral for the people that died on September 11th, 12 years later, and who knows?
I mean, what was extraordinary was in the first 3 days of the new search, 39 pieces of what is thought to be human bones were found. So clearly there is a great opportunity for relatives of victims such as yourself to have that closure that you so desperately want, to have some sense that you can have a proper burial and funeral.
I think they found something like 74 or 75, they call them PHRs, potential human remains. And we get an email daily telling us how many they have found, and, we don't know whose remains they are. And I don't know if I'll get a phone call telling me that it was Ken's remains that they found or not.
Do you feel that enough effort is being made even now to stop that agony for you?
No, I think 2.5 years of having 60 dump trucks sitting at a landfill is egregious. And, now we found that plane part in between a couple of buildings, and, they seem to have misplaced that 5-foot plane part. It's just, it's really hard to take. It's hard to be in the news, hear all this news constantly about things that should have been handled differently from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, when you discovered this landfill situation and you wrote this letter, did you get any response from anybody to the powerful words that you put in print there in the New York Times?
No, there was no response. We just get, like I said, emails that tell us, of the potential human remains that were found, and we just sit and wait. That's all we can do. There's really no other information coming out.
Do you know if they still have any trucks of soil by landfills?
We're not getting that information either. We've asked over and over again, like how many more times this will happen, and there's nobody coming forth and telling us exactly, what we still have to look forward to or, wait on to find out when and if they'll identify our loved ones. There's a third of the victims have never been identified.
Who do you blame for this?
It's every administration mishandled things from the beginning. Giuliani started it, and it just keeps on going. We feel desperation at this point. It's very painful.
Well, I hope if anyone's watching this who isn't in any position of authority or has been in the last 12 years, that they do something about it very, very quickly, because I read that letter. I was utterly appalled, and this should not be happening to anybody whose loved ones lost their lives that day. And Lorie, I commend you for writing it. I commend you for coming on this show now and talking about it. And hopefully we can get to the bottom of it and get things sorted.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Lorie Van Auken, thank you very much indeed.